Welcome to Profit and Prosper, a podcast for entrepreneurs who are ready to make some money while doing what they love. On this podcast, we're going to pull back the curtain and talk about all things business and money, but I promise you this is not your typical boring numbers talk. I'm your host, Sarah Young, a CPA and CFO with over a decade of experience in finance, business, and leadership. I'm going to share everything I've learned from helping my clients grow more profitable businesses and keep more of what they earn while growing my own successful business along the way. You'll feel empowered and confident that you too can grow your wealth, live a rich life, and have an impact. Stick with me and you might even start to think that finance is fun. Let's dive in. What's up, y'all? Welcome back. This is episode 79 of the Profit and Prosper podcast, and today's topic is how to save $100,000 from your business. I want all of my episodes to be high value, but I feel like this is going to be like a really, really high value episode. When I go through the process of how to save $100,000 from your business, I'm not holding anything back in this episode. I'm not like keeping the secrets to how to do this behind the curtain and telling you that you have to come and like join my programs to learn how to do this. I'm just going to tell you everything that I know about how to save $100,000, at least within, the time that we have in this episode together. So get ready to take some notes. If you end up doing something from this episode, if you are able to move some money into a savings account or an investment, or if you set up some sort of savings plan or automation, please tell me about doing it. Like, please tell me that this episode had an impact on you, because I really love to hear it. It's so nice when I hear, I have people DMing me on Instagram or sending me emails telling me they actually went and did a tangible thing after listening to an episode. So let's talk about what I mean when I say save $100K. So first off, the word, I'm going to say save just because it's an easier word to say, but I'm using it as sort of a general term to mean you could be, yes, saving money by putting it into a savings account, but you could also generate this money and pay off debt or put it towards investments. I'm just going to say save $100K because even though you could do all those things, it's just more straightforward. It's easier to say. The other piece I want to explain before we jump into the nitty-gritty is the $100K part. I think that having $100,000, generating that first $100K in savings from your business is a huge, huge milestone. Obviously, it's a nice round number. It's probably more in savings than a lot of people have. And so the fact that you're able to do that is obviously a huge accomplishment, but there's other reasons why I think having 100K is really important, and as it relates to wealth creation. So I did a masterclass a couple weeks ago, the Potential to Prosper masterclass, and in that masterclass, I introduced this idea of having kind of an emergency fund for your retirement. Meaning, a lot of the people I work with are interested in investing in other things, in, alternative investments and things that aren't just piling all your money into retirement accounts. And that's great, but I think that it's also great to have at least a minimum oh shit fund in your retirement accounts. And what I mean by that is having set up, at least I would say $1 million in retirement, or knowing that when you get into retirement age, that you have about $1 million set aside in a more traditional retirement account, maybe a brokerage account, but probably a retirement account that you have there that's not necessarily invested in anything, alternative, anything that's potentially more risky. Just because from a diversification standpoint, I think it's important. So that $1 million will generate about $40,000 per year, depending on how much you take out. But it'll give you about $40K per year in annual income that you can use to live. And it would do that in perpetuity if you have it invested in the right things. And so I think having that as sort of a backstop is a really great thing to do. And getting 100K invested into your retirement account. Now, depending on how much time you have left until 60 or 65, whenever you want to retire, that 100K, given enough time, will grow to $1 million by the time you retire. Okay. So we want to, as quickly as we can, if you do not have that, 100K invested in your retirement account, we want to get there. If you do already have that invested, then the 100K that I'm going to talk about saving today could be used for your next level of investment, whether that is to continue putting into retirement or maybe it's to start investing in real estate or whatever else you want to do. So let me give you a couple of numbers examples of why 100K invested is so powerful. So I am 36 as of the time I record this. That gives me 24 years until I turn 60. 60 is the age that you can get access to retirement accounts, really 59 and a half, but I'm going to round to 60. So that'll give me 24 years until I hit age 60, and I can take money out with no penalties and no tax implications. So currently today, I have in my retirement accounts, I have IRAs, I have about $125,000. The vast majority of this was rolled over from my previous job when I had corporate jobs. I tried to look back at what I rolled over, and I think I rolled over about 80 grand or so, maybe 85. I've contributed a couple years the max IRA contribution, so I'd say like another 12K. I'm estimating 12 or 18. I don't know. I'm losing track of the years. But the rest of that balance comes from growth since I rolled it over 3+ years ago. If I do not contribute any more to those accounts ever until I'm age 60, I will end up with about $670,000 in that account, just based on pure growth over the next 24 years. To calculate that number, I'm assuming a 7% growth rate. So that is the 10% in return on the stock market, less 3% for inflation. So that is adjusting back to today's dollars. Now, if I use a 10% annual growth rate, that'll get me about $1.3 million. The reason, though, I don't use that 10% growth rate is that $1.3 million in 24 years will not have the same purchasing power that it does today. So I like to adjust back into today's dollars because that's what makes sense in my head. So that'll give me about $670,000 in today's dollars if I do not contribute another penny. However, if I do contribute just the IRA maximum, so $6,500 a year, I will end up with about $1.1 million in today's dollars, which would qualify to be basically my oh shit fund. So, the bulk of that growth is coming from the 125K that I already have currently invested. And then because I only have 24 years left until I'm age 60, I'm going to need to contribute a little bit more every year to reach that sort of oh shit fund $1 million level in my account. So here's some other examples. If you are age 30 today and you have 100K invested, by age 60, that 100K will turn into $811,650. So if you want to get that up to $1 million, you only have to contribute each year $1,900 to get that account balance up to $1 million. If, on the other hand, you're age 40 and you have 100K invested, if you do nothing for the next 20 years, you'll end up with $403,874. So if you want that account to grow to $1 million, that means you need to contribute 14K each year to get up to $1 million. The reason I'm sharing these numbers is just to give you an idea of the power of growth, and getting to that first 100K, I think is, like I said, it's a milestone and it's really important because it compounds. It compounds so much over time. So we're going to talk about how to save 100K, and the mechanics of how this works from your business is going to be the same whether you have nothing in your savings or investments now, if you're starting from zero, or maybe you're starting from having debt, to if you already have 100K invested or more in retirement accounts and you're thinking what's next. The mechanics are the same. We want to keep saving money over time to be able to continue to build wealth and, of course, live the life that you want. So before we jump into the mechanics of how to save 100 grand from your business, I want to quickly drop a reminder that I have applications open for my high-level mastermind, the Millionaire CEO Incubator. So if you are a female founder making 60,000 and up in annual profits, then this quick message is for you. The Millionaire CEO Incubator is my mentorship and mastermind program. And honestly, I think it is like no other program that is out there today because I am combining in this program business strategy, wealth strategy, and also mindset and energy and embodiment work to teach you how to scale and invest in order to create seven-figure wealth as an entrepreneur without sacrificing your life today. That part's just really important to me. I want you to understand you do not need a seven-figure business to start building seven-figure wealth. What you do need is to learn how to make your business now more profitable. To the tune of 30 to 50% profit margins is our benchmark. And then in turn, be smarter about what you do with those profits to be able to pay yourself a six-figure salary and save your next six figures all at the same time. What this does is it enables you to set up the money systems you need to invest and create seven figures in wealth on autopilot while optimizing and scaling your business. We can do both. And if you use the framework that I will teach you, you will do this without working longer hours and without living on a budget so that you can enjoy your life today without guilt. So the mastermind is a 12-month program, so I can be with you through all the seasons of your business. And it's a mentorship. I'm calling it a mentorship program because I have actually done the thing. Like, I'm not just a coach who's like coaching you on what I think you should do. I teach my clients in here exactly what I know to be true based on my experience from building my own agency, recently buying a business, keeping my work hours to 30 hours a week or less, and being a wife and mom and taking care of myself. So the goal of the program is to teach you how and help you implement the frameworks to get seven figures of net worth out of your business in the next 2 to 5 years. I personally did it in a 2.5 year time frame. So if you are ready for that next level deep support, then apply for the mastermind. Applications are open until September 10th. After you apply, if I think that you're a good fit, you will get a one-on-one call with me where we're going to talk through what your unique path is to scaling and investing and building seven-figure wealth. Our enrollment deadline is September 17th, and our 2-day kickoff for the fall 2023 cohort is September 21st and 22nd. And everybody who enrolls in the fall cohort is going to get a bonus one-on-one VIP day with me in Q4 so that we can get you started on the right track. I will probably not ever have the capacity to do these VIP days again, and I don't know when I'm going to open up for enrollment again. It'll probably at least be another 4 to 6 months. So if you are listening and you're like, yes, this is me, and you want to claim one of the spaces, go to sarahhyoung.com/incubator and submit your application, and we will chat further. Let's talk about now the mechanics of how to save $100K from your business. What I'm going to tell you in this podcast episode is exactly what I'm teaching inside of the mastermind. And I'm going to give it all away here, the how-to, because I think the value for me, for working with me, is less about the education and learning the tactics, but actually in the implementation and how to customize all of the stuff I'm about to tell you for your unique business and personal financial situation. If you want the hands-on support so that we can actually work through your unique situation and all the things that come up in your business, on top of doing the mindset and energetic work that you have to do in order to successfully save $100,000, then that is what the mastermind program is for. I'm going to talk through 4 steps. Number 1, we're going to find extra cash now. 2, we're going to talk about how much you should be saving. 3, we're going to talk about when you're going to need to make more money in order to save faster and when you don't need to make more money. And 4, we're going to talk about where to put your money. The first thing that you can do if you want to save $100K is look for extra cash in your business right now. There are so many of you listening who I know have $20K, $30K, $50K, $70 in your business checking accounts, just sitting there in your business checking account because you don't know what to do with it. The most that I have seen somebody have who is a solopreneur or who has a small team whose operating expenses are not $100K a month, The most I've ever seen somebody have is about $125,000 in cash in their business checking account. That's basically the profits that they made from their business from the last 12 months. They just left it there because they didn't know what to do with it and because they were afraid to take it out. Some of you listening have tens of thousands, if not 100,000 plus dollars sitting in your checking account right now that you can automatically move into your savings account or into your investment. Again, reminder, I'm using the word saving as a general term. You have money that you can invest today. Even if you don't have tens of thousands, you might have $1,000, you might have 2,000, you might have 500. That is better than thinking that you don't have anything today. Like thinking that you don't have enough to get started today. You actually probably do. So the first thing I want you to do is go look for the extra cash in your business right now. The amount of money that I like to keep on hand, I've said this 1,000 times on this podcast. I'm going to say it again. I like to recommend to our clients that we keep about 30 days of cash in your primary checking account. So if you just have one checking account, that's the account I'm talking about. If you do some form of profit first, then this would be in your operating or expense account. Keep about 30 days of cash in that account. And on top of that, I want you to make sure that you have your paycheck, your personal paycheck covered for the next 30 days. So I personally only pay myself once a month because I also have a whole personal financial money flow that I will talk about in another episode. But I pay myself once a month, and so I know what that paycheck is. And so when I'm allocating my cash, I just think about, okay, I need to keep 30 days of operating expenses and then make sure my paycheck is in there as well. Beyond that, unless you have a business where you have really long sales cycles, like those of you who have corporate clients where maybe you have less frequent but huge contracts, or maybe you're a coach and you do the launch model where you have launches throughout the year, but you don't necessarily have as much monthly recurring revenue. This is also probably applicable to you. Even then, I would say keep 30 days of operating cash in your account and then move the rest into savings. And then in the next 30 days, when your 30 days is up and you've paid all your expenses for the month and you've paid yourself for the month and that account has, you've drained it basically, which is the point of it. You either have income coming in from sales from the current month, or if you didn't have sales, then you have savings. You have savings that you can pull out and put into your operating account. And there you go. You're funded for 30 days. That's the point of savings. I will have a quick caveat. I know that there can be some mindset ickiness that people have around actually taking the money out of their savings. The money that you put into your emergency fund, like actually needing to use it, can make you feel all kinds of ways. I have been there. I totally understand, but understand like that money is there for you to use. So look at your business checking account. And if you don't know what your spending in a current month is, like take some time and look through your statements and just get a ballpark of what you normally spend. And that's about the amount that you should keep in your primary checking account. Then the rest you can save. You can literally move into a savings account, whatever that extra cash is, and boom, you have saved. Okay. So that's step one, is just looking for extra cash in your business. You can also do the same thing in your personal life. So if you have a personal checking account and you have a bunch of cash piled up there, making sure that you also save some of that, use the same process. Number two, I want to talk about how much to save. I don't believe in hard and fast rules, but I can give you some general guidelines. Overall, your business, you should be targeting 30 to 50% in terms of overall earnings profit margins. This is sales minus all of your business expenses. You should have 30 to 50% left over for profits. This is my benchmark that I'm just saying based on seeing financials in my CFO agency and through coaching clients. Aim for 30 to 50%. So if you have an S Corp, your salary I would not include in expenses because that's your owner pay. So making sure that you're considering all of your profit left over after expenses and then adding in your W-2 salary amount if you have an S Corp. So 30 to 50% profit margins. Now, out of those profit margins is what you are going to be paying yourself as the CEO. Look at your revenue, look at your average monthly revenue for the last few months and ask yourself, what would 30 to 50% profit margins be for my revenue right now? And out of that number, how much of that do I need to pay myself just to live, just to cover my spending? So, as an example, if you have $10,000 a month in sales, then 30% would be $3,000 a month, 50% would be $5,000 a month. When you have lower sales, 10 to 20K or less in monthly sales, your profit margin, I would say, is generally going to be higher. So if you're at 10K a month in sales, let's target 50% earnings. So that is $5,000 in profits. So looking at that 5K, maybe you want to pay yourself $4,000 a month. That leaves you with another $1,000 that needs to be saved. I generally like to see people able to save about 10% of their take-home pay, at least 10%, if not 20%. And let's say if your take-home pay is $4,000 a month, 10% of that would be $400, 20% would be $800. So in that example I gave you, having that $1,000 go to savings is a really solid, healthy savings rate, I think. Coming at it from a different way, if you use Profit First says you should, quote unquote, have 5% of your sales going to business profits. And then another 50% until you hit about 20K a month, then it drops to, I think, 40%. But 50% of your sales goes to your owner pay. But I just said I like to see at least 10% from your pay going to savings. So if your pay is 50% of your sales, 10% of that would be 10% of the 50% would be savings. I know I've said a lot of numbers. Let me go back to the 10K a month example. In the 10K a month example, 5% business profits is $500. So that's $500 a month for business profit. 50% of your sales going to your owner pay would be $5,000. But out of that $5,000, if we take 10% out of your paycheck to savings, that would be another $500. And so combined, you should be saving about $1,000. And that ends up being about 10% of your revenue. So I can't give you rules that I think you should, quote unquote, be saving this much, but I do think that being able to save 5 to 10% of your revenue is amazing. So when you think about how much you can save, if you are not consistently saving now, do some math around these percentages that I just gave you based on your current monthly revenue. Or if you have lumpy income, maybe you annualize your revenue. Do whatever makes sense to you, okay? But can you start with 5% of revenue? Can you just say, okay, if my average monthly revenue is $8,000 a month, then can I take 5% of that every month and move it into a savings account? So that would be $400. Can we start there? And then once you get used to doing that, can you increase it? And if 5% still feels like too much, start with 1%. Just start with something. Show yourself over the course of a couple months that it's not as hard as you think it's going to be. Show yourself that you can do it and then increase the percentage. Now, if you have lumpy income, I'm going to talk to you guys who have the lumpy income either from launches or from these more bigger but less frequent corporate contracts. What we do with our clients who have those is I like to project out, I like to put into a spreadsheet what your future revenue is going to be so that we get a sense of how long it's going to be until you get more cash in the door. So, projecting out what your future launches are on your calendar, or if you have corporate contracts, when the contracts will renew or when you think they're going to close, like put those in there. And then that tells you, okay, so this launch here has got to cover me for the next 3 months or the next 4 months, however long that is. And then do the math on, okay, instead of 30 days of operating expenses, I need to cover 3 months of operating expenses. And instead of 30 days of owner pay, I've got to cover 3 months of my paycheck. And so do the math on, okay, out of this launch, I've got to carve out this much money to go to future expenses, this much money to owner pay, and then the rest goes into your savings account. So hopefully you have enough coming in so that you're able to cover the next few months where cash coming in might be lower and then still have enough to save. So moving on to step 3 of how to save 100K, I want to answer the question of, do you need to make more money in order to save 100K? The answer is sometimes. Here's what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to not save because you think you're not making enough money. You do not need to earn more to start saving. I think somebody who starts saving $25 a month is doing more than saving zero. Even if $25 is not enough, it is going to show your brain, it's going to show you evidence that you are a person who saves, that you are a person who is good with money. So you do not need to earn more to start saving money. But if you want to save faster, then as an entrepreneur, the fastest way to save more money is to make more money. A lot of the financial advice out there is targeted at employees who are stuck on a W-2 salary, who don't have the opportunity in most cases to go make a ton more money really quickly, but that's not you. And so if you're an employee and you have a fixed income, the fastest way to save more is to spend less. Now, you know that I'm not an advocate for spending money on stuff you don't need. And so obviously go through, if there's stuff you can cut out, cut it out. I do that. I review my expenses. If there's things I'm not using, I will cut it out in order to be able to save more money. But in terms of speed, if you want to be able to save 100K quickly, the fastest way to do that is to make more money out of your business. If we do the math, obviously, if you want to do it in 1 year, you have to generate an extra 100 grand of income in 1 year. Now, again, some of you have $50,000 sitting in your savings account that you can go and knock out half of that goal in one fell swoop. Some of you will be starting with 500 extra dollars in your savings account, and so you still got 99,500 left to go, okay? So if you want to save 100K in 1 year, we need to save 100K. Generate an extra $100,000 in your business. If you want to do it over 2 years, that's 50 grand a year. If you want to do it over 3 years, that's 33,000. If you want to do it over 4 years, that's an extra 25,000 a year. You see where I'm going? So if we want to speed up the time frame over which you get that 100K, we've got to figure out how to make more money. So this is where scaling your business comes into play. I have done multiple episodes talking about why I think that scaling to at least 20K months is more sustainable and better for you than staying at the 100K mark for so many reasons. Go back and check those episodes out. I won't go into it here. But at 20K months, that is about 250K of annual revenue. You are going to be able to take home about a 6-figure paycheck if you structure your business the right way. Some of you might be able to take home more than a 100K paycheck. Out of that 100K paycheck, depending on how much your personal life costs you to live, you can be saving chunks of money. Okay, so some of you might be able to save 10K a year off of a 100K paycheck. Some of you might be able to save 60K in a year. It all depends on your personal situation. But what we want to do is be thinking about, okay, if I need to pay my bills and I also want to be saving 100K over, maybe your goal is over a 2-year time frame. That means you need to save $50,000 a year. Or maybe you structure it so you increase the amount over time. Maybe your goal is 30K this year and then 70K next year. Or maybe you do 20K this year, 30K next year, and 50K the following year. That would get you there. Let's say 30K. You want to save $30,000 this year. And let's say you also need to take home $5 grand a month to cover your expenses. So that is 60K in pay. Plus the 30K that you need to save, that gets you to about 90K of income. If you're my client, I'd probably just have you round up to 100 because it's a nice round number and it gives you an extra $10,000 of money that you can save more, save faster, or use for fun. So if we go with the benchmark of 30 to 50% profit margins, 100,000 is 30% of 333K. Using the 50% earnings margin as a benchmark, 100K is 50% of 200K. So your revenue is going to need to get up to anywhere from $200,000 to $300,000 in order to take that 50% home. This is why I think scaling is so important, but you have to do it profitably. Because if you're scaling, but you're not doing it profitably, then you're just going to end up plowing all of your money back into your business and not able to take home what you want to take home. So what I want you to do is do that exercise for yourself. Figure out how much do you need to take home to pay yourself, and then what is your goal for saving money to get to your 100K milestone? What is the time frame you want to get over? And so how much you need to save this year to be on track to reaching that goal? And then figure out the math So do your take home, your total profit or your total pay plus your savings goal, divide by 0.3, divide by 0.5, and that will give you your range of sales that you need to aim for, assuming that you're running your business and scaling it profitably. And then if your business is not profitable, I have tons of episodes talking about how to make it more profitable. I have a whole profitability series. So go back and check that out, because I think step one to building wealth is always making sure that you are making really good money and then scaling your business up in a way that's profitable so that you can save and invest. All right, so I want to wrap this up here with step number 4, and that is, where are we going to put this money? This is probably the easiest part of this whole entire thing, and this is one that I see people second guessing themselves all the time. A lot of the people who have gobs and gobs of money stacked up in their business checking account, one, they're not sure how much they should or can take out safely, and they're worried about taking out too much. But then reason number 2 is they just don't always know where they want it to go. If you are going to have cash savings, that money needs to go into a savings account, and preferably in a high yield savings account. Not just like the free savings that you can get at your bank, because usually those have really crappy interest rates, but at a bank that has a high yield savings account, because that money is probably going to sit there for a while before you use it. So personally, I have an Ally savings account. I like Ally. It's a really good high yield savings account. They also have buckets that you can use to put your money in your savings account towards different goals. There's other personal high yield savings accounts out there. Don't overthink it. Just pick a high yield savings account that has a good reputation, okay? For business, there are less high yield savings account for businesses, but they do exist. The one that I use and the one that I recommend to a lot of my clients is Live Oak Bank. They have a good high yield savings. Again, there's other ones out there. It doesn't really matter as long as it's a reputable bank, and they have good interest rates. My one single pet peeve about Live Oak, at least as of the time I record this, is that they do not sync to QuickBooks Online, which means you would have to, or your bookkeeper would have to manually put in like the interests and transfers and things, which is kind of annoying, but not a deal breaker for me. Okay. In terms of putting that cash into your savings account, keep your cushions there. You've heard me talk about cushions. So having 2 to 3 months for your business and then 3 to 6 months, if not more, for your personal emergency funds. Put those emergency funds into your cash savings accounts. Then make sure that you are paying off debt. So if you have a lot of debt, I once had a lot of debt. I will tell you, go back, I forget the episode number, but I had an episode where I talked about how I was once $55,000 in debt and newly divorced. That was a fun one. We need to make sure you're paying off debt. So I want you to have at least a minimum of cash savings so that you could make it at least a month or 2 off of your cash savings and then take the rest and plow towards your debt. The reason I don't want you to prioritize debt first is that you will get into a cycle of you put all your extra cash towards paying down your debt, and then something happens. Something unexpected happens. Your car breaks, or your house repairs, or you have a huge bill in your business or something. The launch doesn't go the way you thought it would. And that means you need cash to cover that hole. And if you don't have savings, you're going to go right back into debt. And I did that. If you go listen to my podcast episode about it, I did that. And I will tell you, it is very demoralizing because it keeps you caught in that loop of paying it down and feeling good about yourself, but then going right back into debt. So prioritize having at least a couple months of savings on hand so that you have the money to cover things and not have to go right back into debt. And then once you have your cash emergency funds, and once you've paid off at least your high interest debt, like I'm talking high interest credit cards, for example, then start putting that money into investments. And again, I've had whole episodes on this. I have so many episodes at this point, y'all, but I have other episodes about cash priorities. So go check those out if you're in a place where you want to start investing. Oh, okay. That was a lot. That was my kind of entire brain and my entire framework on saving and investing money as a business owner put into one, I tried to make it as short as possible, episode. So again, if you go and do any actions if you go save money after listening to this episode, if you set up a monthly savings plan, or even if you just come up with your target numbers of what your goal is so that you have something to work toward, please tell me. I love to hear about people doing actual tangible things from listening to these podcasts. So send me a DM on Instagram or send me an email at hello@sarahhyoung.com. And then also share with a friend. Share this episode with a friend who needs it, because the more you share, the more the podcast grows and the more people that we can impact. So that is it on how to save $100,000 from your business. If you need more support, if your business is making good money and you want to scale and you want to invest and you need more support and doing it in a way that is profitable, in a way that is simple and straightforward and doesn't require you to work 100-hour weeks, then as a reminder, go apply for my Millionaire CEO Incubator Mastermind group. The application deadline is September 10th, and I'm so excited to welcome a new cohort into the program. That's all I got for today, y'all. I will see you back here next week. Thanks for listening to this week's episode. Now, I want you to go take some action. What's one thing you can do this week to create more profit in your business? Send me a DM on Instagram at YoungCoCFO and share your action item with me. If you have a question or topic you'd like me to dive into, or if you're feeling empowered about taking charge of your finances, let's continue the conversation. Go to profitandprosper.co to submit a question or topic for me to talk about on the show. And because we all profit and prosper better with friends, please leave me a review on Apple Podcasts, subscribe wherever you listen, and share the episode. Make sure you tag me at YoungCoCFO on Instagram so I can give you some love, and I'll see you in the next episode.